This is the Bat Flip Podcast. Now here's your host, Damian, David, and Matt. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Bat Flip Podcast. Damian, Matt, and David here with you today. We are going to be talking about all the things that are happening in MLB right now. We had Brandon Hyde getting fired. We had a big-time suspension happen. We got some top prospects either getting called up or recalled up. We've had some returns from injuries. And then in this episode, we're also going to be drafting our Dream WBC team, as we're already starting to get announcements for what that team's going to look like for the 2026 WBC. But before we get into all of that, David, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. Going back to work, obviously after the weekend, tough, but Cubs swept the White Sox, won the crosstown series first round there. So that was a good little weekend. But yeah, fun little weekend, obviously nice and relaxing, but ready for Memorial Day, ready for a little holiday action, days off. How you doing, Matt?
Doing pretty good. Did a bunch of work at my house this weekend. Did some landscaping outside and just a lot of cleaning up and stuff. So I'm pretty exhausted, and I too was not excited to be at work today. So that's always a sore subject for me. But I think everyone should come subscribe to our podcast and Bat Flip Entertainment channel so we don't have to work anymore.
Yes.
So I think that's what we need to do. But
yeah,
everything's this will be the work. But yeah, we'll I'm had a good weekend and excited for Memorial Day as well. I think I'm actually going to Churchill Downs on Sunday in Louisville for some horse racing. It's going to be very interesting and different. But yeah, how are you doing, Damian?
I'm doing all right. Obviously work is work at the end of the day, but it's kind of weird. I had a weird weekend. The Dodgers haven't played since Thursday for some reason. So don't even have to worry about baseball for the whole weekend. It was really nice, relaxing. Just don't need to talk about anything that happened.
Who beat them?
We don't need to talk
Angels
about it.
Swept them. The Angels swept the Dodgers.
Without Mike Trout of even like
that's the worst part. That is the worst part.
Maybe Shohei should have stayed.
Dude, the sad part is I knew that Taylor Ward was just going to turn into a demon against the Dodgers, and like he did. He hit a homer in all three games, like just crazy. But no, I mean it's fun. Obviously I missed last week with some internet issues, and we got that back running. Was actually scary to figure out that my house could have burned down at any moment with what was happening,
especially in California. You can't mess around with that.
Yeah, that was wild.
You could have burned down the whole city of LA.
Yeah, crazy. But I'm happy to be back. Obviously, this is our first actual podcast since we announced Bat Flip Entertainment. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check out the video on the YouTube, kind of explaining what that is. But if you missed it, a little quick synopsis is the podcast is going to say the podcast, but the entire channel is Bat Flip Entertainment now. Opens us up for a bevy of different options of videos and sports related anything. So this will still be here. This will still be everything, but just gives us a brighter horizon for other things. But enough about that. Let's get into the episode today. Let's start off with the Orioles firing Brandon Hyde. Obviously, we had the two managerial firings last week of Bud Black and Derek Shelton. Now we have the Baltimore Orioles, who we talked about. We're off to a very, very slow start to the start of the season. I don't think it's completely Brandon Hyde's fault, but with the team he was given. But Matt, do you think that it was the right time to move off of Brandon Hyde?
I mean, I've said that we've had some of these lately, early season managerial firings, and I say the same thing. I feel like every time where it's just like, I don't think it really matters that much who the manager is unless they're terrible. And I don't think Brandon Hyde is terrible. I mean, he took a couple of Orioles teams that shouldn't have been there, so to the playoffs, and with such a low payroll, won the division. A lot of their young players have really blossomed with his leadership. Just been comfortable. They've had a good clubhouse since he's been there. They've had a horrible start this year. And I'm with you. I don't think that that's necessarily Brandon Hyde's fault, but at the same time, you're 15-30. You've got 3% playoff odds now, and this was the expectation for them, whether it was fair or not, whether the ownership acted like it or not, or the GM acted like it or not. Their expectation was that they were a playoff team, and they're already pretty much out of being a playoff team. So, it's early enough to where I feel like the Orioles leadership thinks that maybe they can just make a big big move now out of desperation and spark something. As we've talked about before, that happened with the Phillies a few years ago. It happened with the Blue Jays a few years ago. But the Orioles' problems are not in their manager. The problems are in the fact that they have injuries and they didn't add any depth in the offseason to their pitching staff to account for potential injuries. And really offensively too. Although the injuries offensively have been a real big problem for them. You can't. There's no way they could have replaced Gunnar Henderson, being 100%, and Colton Cowser and these guys who have missed a lot of games. There's no way they could have replaced those guys in the offseason. But still, I don't think it's totally fair to Brandon Hyde. But at the end of the day, if you're 50-30 on a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs, then that surprised me all that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I'm going to echo a lot of what I said last week when me and Matt talked about the Pirates firing Derek Shelton. It's just you can't. The manager is being held responsible for the failures of the front office. Pure and simple. I don't even think it's like anything besides that. Like it's really that easy. Mike Elias has failed this organization completely. He hung on to prospects too long. They've lost their value. He, traded away the wrong ones. Kyle Stowers, it would be the best offensive player on this team, and he's playing in Miami. And he would be a perfect replacement for Colton Cowser right now to jump into left field, right field, and provide that corner outfield value against those righties. And Cowser's obviously he's made a plethora of mistakes, and now it's not Brandon Hyde's fault that Grayson Rodriguez started the season hurt. It's not Brandon Hyde's fault that Kyle Bradish started the season hurt. It is absolutely just a complete failure on Mike Elias's part to ready this team for success for this season. We talked about it. We talked about it in the preview. We felt like the talent would overcome that. It's not overcoming it. There's injuries. There's other problems. There's just things that the manager can't control. And I feel like Brandon Hyde has been dealt a raw hand because he's a good manager. I feel like he's a good manager aside from that.
Yeah, I'll push back just a touch on the Orioles. Not only did they not, I agree in principle with what you're saying. They did not have a good offseason. They did not do what they needed to do. But at the same time, what are you going to do? Sign somebody to play shortstop? Because Gunnar Henderson currently has less than 1 WAR. He's been a little bit better lately, but he's got a 119 WRC plus, hasn't been good defensively. And that's the guy who was an MVP candidate last year. You got Adley Rutschman's got an 88 WRC plus right now. I mean, Jordan Westberg has an 87 WRC plus right now in about 100 plate appearances. You can't, not only did they not do the moves that they needed to do, but their guys are underperforming too. I mean, your core is those guys. And then, Colton Cowser being injured. Colton Cowser only played 4 games this year. Ryan Mountcastle, who was a kind of a staple there, had been there a long time. He's been terrible. He's only played 28 games. And then Tyler O'Neill, that is the guy they signed in the offseason. They spent, a decent amount of money on him on a 1 year, or I think it was a 1 year deal.
No, it's 3 year.
3 year deal.
It's
Was it 3 for 40?
Yeah. Got him and he stinks.
Yeah. He's been bad. He's got a 72 WRC plus and he's hurt again. So, a lot of the moves they did make and a lot of the, there's reason to believe they're just underperforming too. On top of that, I mean, this isn't a roster that should be 15-30. We can argue that they shouldn't be above 500 because of the talent, but 15-30 is crazy. I mean, that is that is barely. If it wasn't for the Colorado Rockies, we would be talking about the Orioles right now as maybe the worst team in baseball. I mean, the White Sox are right there too, but the White Sox I think have won. What if the White Sox have won 14 games? The Orioles have won 15 games. I mean, it's that bad right now. They're as bad as the White Sox right now, the way they played so far. So, I understand where they're coming from with Brandon Hyde. I totally disagreed with the last one with Shelton because I was just like they didn't even give him a chance. Brandon Hyde had good players on his team. maybe not enough good players to be a playoff, to be a World Series contender like they hoped, but he's got enough players on his team to not be 15-30.
I agree, but at the same time, you were talking about the offense specifically. We need to take a look at the pitching staff.
Oh yeah, it's
this
awful.
pitching staff here. Take a guess. How much WAR do you think the pitching staff in Baltimore as a total has
It's
in
negative.
Major League Baseball?
I just looked at it. So
It's
Negative.
-0.5. The next closest team is the Angels at 0.7, positive 0.7. They are almost a full win worse, or they are over a full win worse. They're 1.2 wins worse than the Angels pitching staff wise. And if you break that down, their top three, or their top WAR pitcher right now is Gregory Soto, who's pitched 14 2/3 innings at 0.3 WAR. Outside of that, it's Tomoyuki Sugano, who was an offseason signing on a 1-year deal. Didn't expect much from him. He's pitched decently well. The peripherals aren't great, but it is what it is. And then Cave Povich is their third, tied for second basically, and their best young starting pitcher that you expected something from, and he still has a 5.23 ERA.
Yeah.
This pitching staff is horrendous. Obviously, they got rid of Kyle Gibson over the weekend too. They DFA'd him. He was his own negative 0.7 WAR or whatever. Charlie Morton is negative 0.5 there. They didn't do enough pitching staff wise to give them a chance. If they had even a remotely, say they had the Angels pitching staff, right? Which is, we're just saying that team, that's not a good pitching staff either. But if they were getting 0.7 WAR to 1 WAR out of their pitching staff, I bet you this is a 500 team.
Mm-hmm.
Even with as mediocre as their offense is played.
I don't think so.
I think you're underrating their offense, Matt. I do.
You can't do anything.
Over 100.
You can't do anything when you go into facing the Nationals over the weekend, and your games you give up 6 or 7 runs in the first 2 innings, or the first inning
agree.
alone.
Hey, I'm not arguing that.
Your offense can't even come back from that.
Yeah, I agree, but their offense also has a 97 WRC plus as a team, and they've been terrible defensively. They've got horrible defensive value. So it's not like, we said coming into the season that their offense had to carry this team because we knew the pitching wasn't going to be great. And then the pitching got dealt a bad hand with injuries to Grayson Rodriguez. Zach Eflin's only made 5 starts. Who was supposed to be their best pitcher coming into the year. Charlie Morton has not been good. We knew that they were going to have problems with their pitching, but we knew their offense had to carry them, and the guys that were supposed to carry them have been bad too. So it's it's a little bit of both. We could come in and say it's a little bit of both. I don't think Brandon Hyde's the guy to blame.
No,
either. I'm with y'all on that.
I think that needs to come back to that. But I guess here's my argument too. For you're saying, well, they have a 97 WRC plus that ranks 18th in the league. That is a middle of the league offense at this moment. Yeah. If they have a even competent pitching staff, I bet you they're around a 500 team.
Yeah. Well, maybe saying the Angels was not the that's not the if they had an average pitching staff and an average offense, then they would be.
I said if they were just getting 1 WAR out of their pitching staff right now, that's Arizona Diamondbacks level right now. Marlins are getting 0.9. If you give them something better than a negative value pitching staff, I bet they have at least some more success. I don't know. I don't think
they'd have more than they have now. They'd be better than the White Sox, but we'll see.
All right, so let's move on to talking about a big time suspension that dropped yesterday, and that is Philadelphia Phillies back end relief pitcher Jose Alvarado, who is having a fantastic season in 20 innings so far. Had a 2.70 ERA, a 184 FIP, almost a full win above replacement. 11.2 strikeouts per 9 and only 1 or 2 walks per 9, basically. But tested positive for testosterone, PEDs, and is out for 80 games. I guess that it really would leave him 2 games at the end of the season, but he's ineligible for the playoffs as well. So, David, I guess those 8 coffees a day weren't really helping him, and it was actually something else, huh?
Yeah, or it was not I don't think it was the weight loss drug or whatever they said it was either. Not only is he went in and firmly took the closer's job from Jordan Romano, their offseason signing there, but Alvarado was kind of running as one of the best closers in the game right now. he's always had nasty stuff. Like back when he was a Ray, nasty stuff. When he was a Mariner, he had nasty stuff. Like that was a guy who I always felt like, the breakout's coming. But for it to come and then him immediately get suspended tells me that maybe something else was going on in this case. It's disappointing because I feel like for a long time he's been a guy that I kind of always had as that guy's probably going to have a couple years where he ends up 30 saves. This was going to be year one of that run, I think, and definitely disappointing. But it really hurts the Phillies because he will not be available for the postseason. That is I think the big crippling factor there is the Phillies lose one of their primary weapons in the bullpen. Now have to address that in the trade market. The easiest method is probably going to be to get Jordan Romano right. Romano's looks like he probably just needs to, find a way to avoid the home run ball a little bit. So he probably just needs a few more innings in low leverage relief before he comes back into that closer's role. But that does not help because I think their little three-headed monster of Strom, Romano, and Alvarado, when healthy, was probably going to be really, really devastating in the playoffs. And as it stands, that might have been all they needed, really, with all the good starting pitching the Phillies have. And it's going to be tough now, I think, for them to piece together that back end without Alvarado. That's it in the playoffs this year. Because I'm looking ahead. The Phillies are a playoff team. They're a really good team. I feel like that's that's the concern. It's not going to be so much for the middle of the season here because I think they'll be fine in terms of player development and filling that hole. But it's filling that hole in the playoffs where he would have been really helpful.
Yeah, I'm with you, David. I think first off, how stupid. I mean. Seriously,
we say this every time.
But even, it's one thing if someone's taken some weird drug that they don't even really know what it is, and it ends up being on the banned substance list. It's another thing if you're just shooting test.
Yeah,
I don't understand what he thinks he's doing here. I don't get it, but he obviously is a cheater and should be suspended and not allowed to pitch in the postseason. This is they've drawn a hard line on this thing now, and you can't do that. So good for it. I'm glad MLB caught him because you can't do that. As for the Phillies, I think this hurts a lot more than people realize for them. The Phillies bullpen's not very good. Really, Alvarado was good. They're good. Matt Strom's been good. But once you get beyond that, Tanner Banks has probably been their best reliever. Orion Kirkering has not been the guy that they were hoping he would be. They only had two relievers that had a sub 3 WAR, and that was Strom and Alvarado. And now Strom's still there, of course, but they don't have anybody else. So this is a team that's going to have to go find some relief pitching at the deadline. Obviously, if you're a Phillies fan, you probably hope that Jordan Romano, coming off that injury, continues to work his way back. His peripherals aren't that bad, and you've got some guys with some nasty stuff back there too. Like I know Carlos Hernandez is somebody who has a lot of people like his stuff. But the Phillies, they've been carried by their starting pitching on the pitching staff. At some point, they're going to have relievers step up, and they don't have any now with Alvarado out except for Strom. So this is definitely going to be a big deal for the Phillies until they can get to the deadline and make some changes.
Well, I will say Jordan Romano's looked great over his last 8 to 10 appearances. I think his last 8 appearances have went scoreless with 11 Ks, which is very, very good for his aspect. And the thing is, they don't even have to wait till the deadline to do it. There's a really good relief pitcher that didn't get signed this offseason that could step in right now, and he's been a Philly before.
Former
David Robertson.
Yeah,
they could call him and get him in that bullpen. He's not going to blow it up for you. He's going to be solid and reliable. And that gives you a little bit of coverage until the deadline to figure something out from there. I see Dave Dombrowski making that call pretty easily at some point. Yeah. And you always hate to try and chase relievers at the deadline because they're the most volatile and they're also the most expensive at the deadline because you just don't know, especially for late back end relievers. But yeah, this is a big blow, obviously. Yeah. He is a dominant left-handed guy. He's a guy you could throw out there when you get into the playoffs and just neutralize, especially a team like the Dodgers. You neutralize Shohei and Freddie basically immediately with that because he is disgusting on left-handed hitters. So it's obviously a big blow, but like Matt said, you just can't. You got to be smarter than this nowadays. Like, you are getting tested routinely for this stuff. You just can't. You can't do it. Like, it's just so dumb at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's go and talk about. Let's start in our kind of call up / injury little phase right here. We'll start with Roki Sasaki. He got put on the IL with a shoulder impingement. This is a shoulder impingement that apparently he had dealt with last year in Japan as well. They think it's something that just rest will give. Imaging hasn't shown any structural damage to it, so just rest apparently. But also within that time, the Dodgers then took the opportunity to call up their top-rated prospect, and per Fangraphs, he was the 8th overall prospect this year, and catcher Dalton Rushing, who's looked good so far. But David, what have you thought about Roki going to the IL? Obviously, he struggled with shoulder impingement, and then the Rushing call-up news.
My initial reaction was, oh no, the Dodgers screwed up another arm, right? But it seems like that's not the case here. It seems like he's had this issue before, kind of a lingering issue. And I want to say when we talked a lot about Roki over the offseason. I want to say we talked about the shoulder injury. I think we did. And this is that. It's cropping up again. His velocity was down to like 92, 93.
Yeah,
like,
in the last start.
It was bothering him. So he definitely needs some time. Well, once again, the Dodgers have 20 pitchers and all of them are hurt, except for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And they're still winning baseball games. Except for
are they?
Maybe they're stopping, but that eventually is going to come back to bite them. The Dodgers got to figure out how to keep some guys healthy. Fortunately, the Roki injury doesn't seem like an indictment on the Dodgers, but another arm injury does raise my eyebrows, right? It's like, man, the Dodgers blow out arms a lot, hurt arms a lot.
Yeah.
So to quickly transition to Dalton Rushing, I love Dalton Rushing. Think he's going to be a really, really good player. Kind of mad the Dodgers haven't traded him away so he can go be a star somewhere else. But him and Will Smith as a two-headed combo at DH and catcher, maybe a couple of starts in left field for Rushing. Like I feel like that'll be very potent. Will Smith sitting like 339 right now. Rushing already has 4 hits in his career. Like those guys are just going to break. Dodgers offense gets better, rich get richer, I guess, but they need pitching. That's what they need. That's what they have needed. Like that's been their problem. So
yeah. I mean, the Roki thing. I mean, Roki had been terrible, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in his rookie year, I mean, he had a 6.15 FIP, negative WAR, almost 6 walks per 9, barely 6 strikeouts per 9. I mean, it makes sense that he would have a shoulder issue because even if it took time to adjust, and even if the walks were high, I think pretty much everyone expected him to get swing and miss in the big leagues, and also to get ground balls. His ground ball rates in Japan were insane. I think everyone expected him to not have a better than 38% ground ball rate. So it makes sense that the injury would be affecting him. And I don't really think it's an indictment on the Dodgers necessarily, as in that they injure pitchers. I think the problem with the Dodgers is that they go get guys who are injury prone. I mean, that's been their problem. I mean, they go get Glasnow last year, injury prone. He always has been. Blake Snell's been injury prone his whole career. We've talked about it in the offseason when they acquired him. Is like, he's good, but how many times has he thrown 170 innings in a year? I mean, not very many, like twice. Yeah. And Roki's another guy they brought in who had injury issues. I mean, obviously they're relying on Dustin May, who's been out a ton, and Clayton Kershaw. I mean, he's injured. I mean, there's just not. They sign guys who are injury prone. And I mean, even you go look at their drafting. I mean, they draft guys who have had Tommy John surgery constantly. I mean, even you go look at some of their success stories, like Walker Buehler was a Tommy John guy in college that they drafted, and then
they drafted him and immediately, sent him for Tommy John.
Yeah. I mean, they knew he was going to have it. Yeah. Like they knew there was an injury. So I think the Dodgers strategy has kind of been just get so many guys that have good stuff that even if a lot of them get hurt, we can figure it out because we have so many of them. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if they all get hurt, then you're going to be in trouble. I mean, they're going to be running Landon Knack out there a lot. They're going to be running out
he starts tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I saw him the other night get shelled by somebody, the A's maybe, and it's like
Yeah.
you just don't. If you're trying to win the World Series, you got to have a few of these durable guys. You got to have a couple of Aaron Nolas in there that just
Yeah.
pitch 180,
Yeah.
200 innings every year to rely on, and then you can bring in the Tyler Glasnows and Blake Snells and Rokies and Shoheis and all these guys who have had arm injuries that get 100 innings out of each one of them and piece it together. But you got to have a couple guys to stay healthy all year.
So I said it all off season when we were talking about all this and we talked about the Dodgers signing everyone. I said their goal is it doesn't matter what happens in the season. It matters if you're ready for October, right? They feel like they have a good enough offense and all of the depth in the world. They can do whatever it takes to win the games to make them win the division and go from there, right? They don't care at that point unless they get those guys back for October. If Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki, and Yamamoto, and even Shohei, like Shohei was supposed to pitch in May, and now he's not. There's talking about like after the All-Star break, if not August, like because he's been so good offensively still. But they don't care. They as long as those guys are ready for October, then they don't care what happens in May, right? Like, and that's kind of what it's unfortunate, but like that's when the injuries are happening at this moment. Now the problem is going to be to fine tune. Hey, let's not have those guys get injured in September or August, like Tyler Glasnow did last year, and he's out for the year and there's nothing else you can do at that point. A part of me wonders how some of this is maybe slow playing them due to Ain's concerns anyways. Like, I think there's been injuries with Snell and Glasnow, but I also think it's like, hey, we know you're not going to throw 200 innings or whatever this year. Take a month or two off and then come back and you'll be ramping up for the time for it. We need you. Like, that's part of it. But it is worrisome. Like, we aren't talking about the Dodgers blowing out arms, but the one thing I will say there's been a history in this organization is shoulder injuries. It's recently. Kershaw with a shoulder injury. Glasnow, his shoulder started bothering him. Snell, now Roki's has creeped back up. Yamamoto's last year was a shoulder. Like, they're doing something not elbow related, but they're doing something shoulder related.
I do think it's philosophical in terms of this organization. Yeah. They prioritize a lot of heavy spin, a lot of heavy velocity. Dustin May is another guy who, he throws really hard, throws with a ton of spin, lights up the gun, but when it comes down to it, he never stays on the field, right? Yeah. So Bobby Miller's another guy, lights up the gun,
shoulder injury.
Shoulder injury. Yeah. So to me, it's one of those things where you do have to have some variance, right? You can't be a full team of Kyle Hendrickses who throw 87, but they throw 150 innings every year because they're always healthy. You can't be the whole team of that, but you also can't be the whole team of let's throw 102, blow out our arms every 40 innings because we're just spinning the ball so much, right? You have to have that balance. The Dodgers feel like they just haven't been able to quite find that balance yet. I don't believe that organization is, dumb enough to forego that until it costs them championships. But like we've seen that year over year, and they really haven't made the kind of depth signings that I would have expected to, buoy that offense, especially after the issues they had last year, where they still won the World Series in spite of all those injuries. Like let Jack Flaherty go to the Tigers. He's been healthy. He's been really good. Like, it feels like they've missed some opportunities here. And,
part of that,
it's not hurting them.
Part of that was they knew they were going to get guys like Gonsolin back. They knew they were going to get guys like May back. They knew they had Knack. Like, part of that's that rather than signing Flaherty, who you don't guarantee a roster spot to. Like, that's part of it. But anyways, real quickly, you mentioned Dalton Rushing. He's been great so far. The key is going to be trying to find playing time. Obviously, he can't DH with Shohei there. Like, that's just not going to happen. Right. They already seem dead set on not having him play the outfield. Roberts basically said that outfield's not an option for him this year. Maybe something changes, but this moment not. It seems like it's going to be a pure like, hey, you start maybe 2 games, maybe 3 games a week for Smith and try to keep it fresh that way. But he's looked incredible so far. I
do wonder, and correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't Will Smith played third before?
Very briefly.
Okay. Because I mean, it would make sense to me for Dalton Rushing to play 3, 4, or 5 times a week because he really needs to play. If you're gonna call him up, he needs to play.
Yeah,
He's young. He needs the reps.
They think that he has the reps, but the problem is they just want him to get familiarized with the MLB pitching staff.
Right, which would make sense to me if you put Will Smith at third twice a week and then had Rushing catch.
I don't think they want to risk. They want to risk Smith at third. They'd rather give him a full day off than risk him at third to keep him fresh. That's just the philosophy of what they've always been saying a little bit. So
I mean, it's to me, it's like it's the same thing as the Braves with Drake Baldwin. I mean, Drake Baldwin has been probably at a rate basis the best catcher in baseball this year, and he's sitting on the bench 4 times a week, and you just don't like that.
So real quick, let's hit on a couple other call up and injury news. One for each of you guys. We're talking about each of our teams in this segment.
So happy.
So David, Matt Shaw's getting called back up. He went down to AAA. He played pretty well down there. So he's getting his second shot at the major league level.
He also has a oppo double in his first game back, which Matt Shaw going oppo means he's on it. And he also stole a base, and he also looks excellent at third already. One game back, I already feel like, the Cubs had, I looked it up today. The Cubs had a 53 WRC plus at third base. That's the bar he's got to clear. You got to outplay John Birdie, Vidal Brujan, and Nicky Lopez. I think he'll be there.
You don't have to beat Nicky Lopez anymore.
Yeah, Nicky Lopez got DFA'd for Shaw. I think he'll be there. And early returns tonight are very, very good. He looks excellent. Had to settle in against Edward Cabrera, struck out against him, but I mean, a double off the wall in Marlins Park, oppo. That's not easy to do as a righty, and he's already put that one together. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, he was really good in AAA, by the way, guys. He was
crushed AAA.
Yeah, he had like tons more walks than strikeouts, and he was really unlucky and had a 150 WRC plus.
Sometimes these young guys need a little bit of a reset. Yeah. And this could be a reset for him. I mean, we should still talk, like, he's still a top rated prospect. He was not that, he was very highly rated coming into this year. Yeah. We shouldn't give up on him after, what was it, like 20 games or whatever he was up for. So,
less than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about another prospect getting called up now. And that some young guy. I think he's got a bright future. Apparently, potentially one day. Ronald Acuna Jr. Any of you guys ever heard of him?
No.
He's in the Brave system. He's been looking incredible in playing the minor leagues. He's supposed to come back. What am I talking about? He's supposed to be called up pretty soon. And then they called up another like ace level pitcher that could potentially, like, another young guy, Spencer Strider. Anyone heard of him?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't know. They're calling
Clemson pitcher.
Potentially,
yes,
like
pitcher.
Yeah, really big legs, like the size of tree trunks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Matt, what do you think about those two prospects getting potentially called up this week?
So, Ronald Acuna Jr. has been in the minor leagues for 4 games. He's got a 40% walk rate. He has not struck out. He has a 286 batting average on balls in play while running a 444 batting average.
He's got 17 homers in 4 games.
He has a 337 WRC plus. Yeah. I did 4 games, but it's still crazy.
He don't need to be down there.
He's ready. So he's ready. I do think that there's a little bit of concern about the way he's played the outfield so far down there. He's still getting comfortable. Rust. That's really going to be the ordeal because, as Damian mentioned with the Dodgers having Ohtani at DH, the Braves have Ozuna at DH. You're not going to put him in the field. So Acuna's going to have to play the field. I mean, you might give Ozuna a day or 2 off occasionally to get Acuna in there, but keep Acuna in there. But then you're taking out your best bat in your lineup, not named Acuna. So, you kind of have to have Acuna play the outfield, and they need to make sure he's comfortable, and that's why he's still in the minors. But been encouraging to see, sometimes last year he seemed a little jumpy and hit the ball on the ground a lot, and coming off an injury, that's kind of was his issue in 2022. It's encouraging to see him launch a couple home runs. He also hit a couple balls off the wall that were launched that they're hitting the air. Obviously it's the minor leagues, 3 games at AAA, but still it's nice to see it. And I'm excited to see what he looks like when he comes back this week. We think it's going to be this week. A couple of
Yeah.
the beat guys have hinted at it. They haven't officially announced the day, like say he's coming back Thursday or something, but he should be back this week. And then
Yeah.
Strider has there's a little bit of concern for me with his velo. It wasn't great in his first start. That was pre-hamstring injury. He pulled his hamstring in his warm-ups for his second start, but his velocity was down. It was down a little bit in his rehab coming back, and apparently it was down in his sim games the other day, which might not be a big deal. He might have just not going all out or something, but it'll be interesting to see what his velo looks like when he pitches. He is pitching tomorrow, so but regardless, it's a lot better than running out
Bryce Elder.
Bryce Elder had actually been really good over the last month, but
listen, we know we've hit the wrong side of this one. That's turned into a Bryce Elder truther.
No.
Okay,
I'm not.
the
the Braves rotation has been really good
show.
over the last 3 weeks,
show.
including Bryce Elder. He's given up like 3 runs in 4 starts or something.
Wow.
So, probably not gonna. Well, wasn't gonna last, but
way to tank the show in the middle.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. No, I saw something that Acuna potentially could come back before the weekend with the Padres series. So that seems like that, but it'll be really interesting to see with those guys back. So let's jump over to talking about the main topic we really wanted to hit on, which I mentioned. We saw Paul Skeens already announced that he was going to be on the Team USA World Baseball Classic roster. Of course, Aaron Judge has been labeled as captain for this roster as well. So we thought it'd be a fun idea to kind of just go through and build who our Dream Team USA lineup would be. We don't have to stick position-wise to position-wise. If we want to move a shortstop to second base or third base, we can easily do that. And outfielders can play wherever we want. So anyways, I guess the first place to start is let's start with behind the dish. Let's start with our position players. We'll jump to the pitchers later. Let's start with catching.
This is an easy one, right? It's easy, right?
For me,
it's a big dumper. It's a big dumper. And Will Smith is his backup, but it's a big dumper.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of really good American catchers right now. I mean, you got Raleigh, you got Will Smith. I mean, Austin Wells is good. He's not as good as those other 2 guys, but he's good. Yeah. You've got obviously.
I think Wells will play for Mexico. I'm pretty sure. I think he's Mexican.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, he's an American, but a lot of it's one of those things. But and then I mean, next year you might be looking at Drake Baldwin being up there, and then you got to remember Adley's had a bad start, but Adley's been he's the guy. I mean, you would think Adley would be the runaway for this if he was.
I don't know.
But
I don't think he's a runaway as
well, he's not now. Like. He's not now.
I don't think he would have been before.
Yeah.
Maybe not a runaway, but he would have been
Sean Murphy's
highly considered. Sean Murphy's always there. Like,
JT.
Logan O'Hoppe. I mean,
even though JT's older and he isn't
he hadn't really
as good as
that well,
but that's still a guy. I think he was the catcher for the last one. I'm pretty sure
I think so.
Yeah, but I think right now, I think Kyle Raleigh would be my guy.
Yeah, me too. Then Will Smith. Will Smith's there. For sure.
Discount. I'm just kidding. So let's move to first base now. And obviously, some people would say like, "Hey, like Freddie Freeman, he plays for Team Canada." I know he plays for Team Canada. So, who do we pick for our first baseman?
Can we talk about real quick that Spencer Torkelson has the second most WAR of any first baseman or third most WAR of any first baseman in baseball? Like, just from looking at it, it's kind of crazy.
That's pretty good.
I mean, yeah.
To me, I think it's probably Bryce.
That's what I was going to say. I think Bryce Harper probably will get it.
I'd have Pete. Pete and Bryce would be my 2.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso and Bryce.
Yeah. Obviously, Olsen is there.
Yeah.
I mean, Goldschmidt's been good this year, but he's older.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll keep this up, but
yeah, I think it's got to be Bryce though.
Yeah. I'd have Bryce and Pete Alonso on my team. Start them based on the matchup. Maybe use one at DH. Maybe use Pete at DH. How about we do that as the righty against the lefty? Because I think my DH is a lefty. So.
We could. We could easily do that. We'll get to that one when we get there. Yep. Second base. I think this is our first move a guy from position to play.
Right.
To play there.
I'm with you.
I don't know if you guys are thinking the same person I'm thinking.
I have to look up the orientation of a guy. But yes, probably, right?
He plays for my favorite team.
No, yeah, there we go. Well, Yeah,
mean,
because he's playing shortstop for the Dodgers, right?
He's playing shortstop for the
Yeah.
Dodgers right
he
now,
plays
but
second in the.
he plays second for WBC team because
Yeah.
obviously I think we know who the shortstop should be
Right.
very easily. So,
Yeah.
but I think the easy move is to move Mookie Betts to second base, right?
Mhm.
Like he has
Yeah.
to be on that. I think he played second base before. He's played it well. I think
Yeah.
it's an easy
Yep.
call there.
Yeah, it's easy. I just don't think a guy like, I thought about this earlier today and I was like, well, who the heck would my second baseman be? I think I did settle on Mookie Betts, but I was like, you can't have a guy like Nico Horner in a short series, right? The
Yeah.
value of a guy like that is over the long term of a season where you're playing great defense, you're running the bases really well. He doesn't have the power, right? So you're going to want a guy that's plays good defense, but he's also got that pop in the bat. And Mookie Betts is just the all around package for that.
So shortstop, I think this is a pretty slam dunk, easy decision. We're going to go out to Kansas City and we're going to take Bobby Witt Jr.
Robert, bring him
to be our shortstop there.
Yep, that's an easy one.
I think third base is really interesting. Do we take another shortstop and move them to third base, or do we stick with a primary third baseman?
I think you got good enough third baseman to.
Because I mean, you would probably say the top one would either be Alex Bregman, Austin Riley, Matt Chapman. Those would be your options. I would argue maybe you could throw Gunnar Henderson in that as well to potentially have him play a third base.
Well, Gunner's on the team. All right. He might be
he might be the fourth infield. I mean, it just depends. I mean, if you took last year Gunnar Henderson, he's starting at shortstop or at third base because of Witt. But like if you're taking this year's Gunnar Henderson, then
I think we're saying if everyone's fully healthy, because Gunnar obviously came back from an injury, and I'm not sure he was fully ready. But it makes an argument because guys like Bregman have played outstanding this year. Austin Riley's played outstanding this year. Like I think that's where you can have a real argument of like, who do you take? The guy who you probably expect would be Gunnar, but then you have three other good options in Chapman, Bregman, and Riley who are playing really well, and those are their true homes.
Right. I think I'm going Bregman.
I think so.
But here's a reason why. I think Bregman in a big atmosphere, he is a guy that has played through so many of those over that Houston dynasty. And it's just the type of guy that's never going to get lost in the moment. He's always going to put together a good plate appearance. And that's especially valuable in a short series where you're maybe 1 to 3 games against the same opponent, right? Like an Alex Bregman's going to be able to capitalize on that.
So speaking of big moments, I think automatically on the team we have to have Trey Turner what he did the last WBC. Like he has to be on this roster too.
He's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think just purely from the heroics from last time, he has to be on the team.
I mean, I will say this: Trey Turner has not been good this year.
No, we're talking about this.
But
okay.
You're like Trey will be he's in the roster, but he's not.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to our outfield, and like we already said, we already have Aaron Judge playing right field.
Yep.
So we have 2 outfield spots remaining at this point. Man, is there a ton of different options you could go here? But I see David has something to say already. So
it's easy, man. This is the easiest one. Like I really thought, I thought about him, but I was like, the first thing I did was I took PCA in center, I took Corbin Carroll in left. Done. Didn't even think about it.
Taking Corbin Carroll and I'm taking Jackson Merrill.
I'm taking Corbin Carroll and I'm taking Kyle Tucker.
That's all right. You can take
Tucker's
on the
Corbin
team.
play center.
Yeah, I think I'd play Corbin in center and Kyle Tucker in left. I like PCA. I think he's been awesome this year. He's such a good defender.
Kyle Tucker.
Maybe you could DH one of them, but
he's not even my DH.
Yeah, I was gonna say PCA. I don't fully trust him offensively yet. I think the plate discipline could catch up to him at some point with not never walking, and he swings a lot. And I mean, I think PCA is really good. Don't get me wrong; he's had an excellent year so far. Is he rookie eligible?
No.
I didn't think he got called up enough last year. Yeah. So, but he should be an all-star. He's an MVP candidate right now, but. I trust Corbin Carroll and Kyle Tucker more at the plate, and in the WBC, run Corbin Carroll out there in center. I think he'd be fine. So
see, I just think the defensive value in the short sample, like I was talking about at second base, I feel like it's not really there at second base. It's there in center field. everybody's a good hitter. You need to go get every ball in the gap.
I think Jackson Merrill is still an elite defensive center fielder as well, and you get probably more predictability with the bat. In that, I think PCA should probably be on the bench because of his electric speed and the ability to. You could then shift one of them to the left. You could shift Merrill to left field or something, and have PCA and Merrill in the outfield there or something. I mean, like you could do endless possibilities at that point. But I think I want Corbin Carroll and Jackson Merrill there, and then PCA could be on my bench as that. Like I think it makes sense that way. But I understand you're wanting him there. I think it does make a ton of sense at that point to then move Kyle Tucker to a DH. But I'm interested to see who you have for your DH, David.
I have the best postseason left-handed hitter of all time, Kyle Schwarber at DH, who also homered in the final game last year off of Yu Darvish. There's nobody better. And like I said, I'll put Pete Alonso in. Kyle Tucker will be in there, rotate in at DH, but it's Kyle Schwarber. And not to mention Kyle Schwarber's in the midst of his best career year right now.
Yeah, it's hard to pick DH because you can pick a guy from any position for this.
Right.
If you're going primary DHs, I think Kyle Schwarber's the best American playing DH, in the big leagues regularly. And I think if Kyle Schwarber plays like he has this year, he'd be the best option. I just don't know if he's going to sustain what he's done this year. It looks fairly sustainable the way he's played this year, honestly. I mean, he looks like he's legitimately cut down his swing and miss a little bit. The batting average on balls in play is not outrageously high. It's about what he usually runs, which is very low. But it's about what he usually runs because of his profile. But I mean, I think Kyle Schwarber is a guy that I would have in there. You look around and you look at, one of the outfielders we might have left out, or, one of the first basemen we might have left out. There were some good options at both of those spots, but, I think you could definitely have Schwarber, and you could even platoon DHs in the WBC.
Yeah.
Schwarber is going to struggle a little bit more with lefties. He's pretty good against lefties, but you could have a lefty masher come out there. Like you could have Austin Riley come out there at DH against left-handed pitcher if you face one or something. Like you could, or Bregman or whoever it might be.
Tons of possibilities with that. So I think we've settled on it's going to be Kyle Raleigh, Will Smith. First base, we decided on Harper. Second base, Mookie Betts. Shortstop, Bobby Witt. Third base, we went with Bregman. Is that right?
Yes.
If I remember right. And then the outfield, we have Aaron Judge. I think we all agreed Corbin Carroll. And then some form of Jackson Merrill, PCA, other Kyle Tucker out there. And then we obviously had like Trey Turner and some other guys on the bench for that spot. So let's talk about the pitching staff. And I think the easiest way for this is let's pick like 3 to 4 starters, and then let's pick like 2 to 3 relievers. Obviously, we're not going to know every single person, every single relief pitcher. We're just going to kind of slim it down a little bit for us here. But I think we all agreed. Obviously, we know Paul Skeens is obviously already on the roster. I think we all agree that Tarek Skubal is 1A, 1B with Paul Skeens right up there. And then you could talk about the 3rd or 4th spot. A couple guys. We talked about Logan Webb, Garrett Crochet, even maybe Hunter Brown if he keeps up what he's doing this year. So where would you guys kind of be leaning for that, like 3rd to 4th starting pitcher spot?
For me, the 3rd guy, I'd pick Logan Webb. I mean, he's been even better. This has been the best year of his career this year so far, and I already really liked him. He's been really good for a while. And I also think he's a guy that, we haven't really talked about too much, but he's somebody who actually might be allowed to pitch in it just because of his profile. He's an innings eater. There's a lot of innings. So I think that's something that's kind of important. And then I'd probably go as a 4th guy. I'd probably go Zach Wheeler. He's a veteran. They always like to have a veteran pitcher out there in WBC. He's still really, really, really good. I think he'd be an option. He's been good for a long time. So.
Yeah. So I like Logan Webb. Obviously Skeens, right? We mentioned, oh man, I lost my
Here we
guy.
go, Adam.
My initial.
Seth
Adam back at it. Seth Lugo.
Let me get my guy here.
Real quick, while you're looking it up,
Tarek Skubal. That's who my guy was.
we already said he's on there.
Yeah. So Zach Wheeler would be the other guy that just needs to be on there. He's been so good for so long. A little bit of the World Baseball Classic is kind of rewarding a guy for good performance, kind of like the All-Star game a little bit. Zach Wheeler he hasn't won a Cy Young, but he's finished top three times. I mean, he's got to be in there. He's been a monster playoff performer, and I'm pretty consistently looking for guys who are really, really good in the playoffs. That's usually the best players like in the majors, right? But obviously Aaron Judge is the captain of this team, and he's historically not a good playoff performer, but you're always going to want those guys who are big in those big moments. Zach Wheeler is so consistently good in the playoffs that he's very easily on my team. And then, yeah, I mean, some combo of Crochet, Hunter Green, guys with velocity who are, veteran level, but pretty good. Like I think Cole Reagans is kind of earning it this year, where if he just takes that little extra step of minimizing the homers, he's right up there with Skubal and strikeouts for a lefty. So, and then maybe Mackenzie Gore too at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good young pitchers right now. I mean, it's
I mean, even if you're talking about another rewarding a guy who's pitched really well, Max Fried. I mean, he's been incredible.
I don't think he'd pitch for Team USA.
You don't think so?
Yeah, he's I think
he has said that he would do Team Israel if he did.
It's interesting. Okay. I think if I had to pick it, obviously I'd pick Logan Webb in there with Skubal and Skeens. I'm kind of someone who likes to do like 2 and 2, so 2 righties, 2 lefties. You can't argue with Zach Wheeler, but I think my second option for lefty would be Garrett Crochet. I think that would just be nasty going from Paul Skeens to Tarek Skubal to Logan Webb to Garrett Crochet. Like you just have hitters in all sorts of fits. Like no one would know what to do with that between. So, but for the purpose of this, we'll say it's Skeens, Skubal, Logan Webb, and Zach Wheeler. I think that's a pretty good 4 option, obviously, as well. So
that's nasty.
Let's do relief pitchers now. And I think this is where the interesting kind of case is going to really come up, because I think we can go in a bunch of different directions. A lot of the top closers aren't really American. Like Andres Munoz is going to be, Mexico. Robert Suarez, I think is he Mexico as well? Or is he, I don't remember if he's Mexico or if he
is Venezuela.
Venezuela. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So where would you guys kind of be leaning for relief pitchers for Team USA?
I think, for me, I think that Josh Hader would probably be the guy.
Okay.
He's been one of the consistently best relief pitchers in baseball for a long time now, and I think that consistency is going to be big for him. I mean, you could probably throw in a Tanner Scott, and that is your 2 lefties.
Yeah.
And then you come out with get some right-handed pitching. I mean, Cade Smith's been awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got a track record that would get him put in there. I mean, if you feel like Chris Martin at his age will be still good, he's incredible. So we'll see about that. There's a bunch of good options for relief pitchers. I don't think we have a shutdown crate. Andres Munoz hadn't given up a run this year.
Yeah. Mason Miller.
Mason Miller's another one.
Feels like he has to be.
Yeah, if he's healthy.
The guys I was going to ask, right?
Yeah.
If it was me asking, I'd ask Tanner Scott.
Yeah.
Lucas Urseg, who has been disgusting this year, and he's been my guy for a long time, so I'm asking him. Hader, I think you have to bring Hader. And then it was Griffin Jacks from the Twins. He was really good last year. And he's just one of those guys that's so filthy, right? The results haven't really been there this year, but it's the kind of guy who the stuff is just always there for him. So I'm a big fan of his. So, yeah.
I think another based off a track record, I think it's going to get overlooked because of the horrendous start he's had to this year. But I still feel like Devin Williams would be in that talk. Like, I know he's been really bad this year, but like he has a long track record of being really, really good. And I wonder if he would be able to do it. I mean, the one thing is that he's a free agent, and that'll be going into his new team, whoever that team is.
Yeah.
And I still do trust that he can be very good. It's just he's another option that I would think.
I don't know if I trust Evan Williams. I don't trust him to get back to his previous form. He might, He's still got that one. He's still got that crazy pitch, but I just don't. I don't know. It's almost tough for me, but it's a good option. I mean, he's been really really good for a long time, but
Yeah.
he's just preference wise for me, I probably wouldn't go with him.
All right. So say we're doing 2 lefties, 2 righties. I think we agree Josh Hader and Tanner Scott should probably be the 2 lefties. So then righty wise, we Mason Miller.
I want
If he's
Mason Miller.
healthy,
I want
Mason
Mason Miller and Lucas Urseg. Those are my righties.
Okay. Matt?
I think my righty would be. I think I'd go. Man, I think I'd go Chris Martin.
See, Chris Martin
I
is
think-
40 years
I
old.
just
He'll be 49.
that's the thing with me. Like he's 40 years old, but
I'd
my God,
definitely go-
he's 38. He's 38.
Yeah,
He'll be
but
39 next
39.
year.
Yeah.
He's so good though. He's been so good for 3 years in a row, and he's just not slowing down. His velocity's up
He
this year.
just went on the IL for an
That is
injury.
true.
So
I think if you're looking
Right
at it,
shoulder discomfort.
I think Lucas Urseg is probably the second option for our righty
Yeah.
there. Just given the fact of age and like the longevity of stuff, like I'm not sure that they would pick Chris Martin to be the guy for that.
Yeah.
So
Luke
I-
Weaver's another one that
Luke
know.
Weaver, that is another option. We didn't mention
Yeah.
Luke Weaver. He probably should be in that.
yeah,
It is.
Yeah,
It's
he's
nasty
good.
how many different guys you have.
he's got a .44 ERA in the season.
I mean, what's Urseg is at? What, he's pretty low too. No.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
low.
0.44.
44.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
the
he's
same.
ERA.
They're the exact same.
They are killing
and
it.
Their expected ERAs are 0.02 difference too.
We can
so-
bring.
Yeah.
We need a big bullpen.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can bring them
you'll
both.
need of
Whatever.
them.
We'll say both.
Need Cade Smith too.
Yep.
There it is. Just bring them all. Bring everyone.
Yep.
Bring be like the Dodgers, just in the WBC. Just have all the pitchers.
Exactly. Bring Kirby Yates while we're at it.
Nah, he went on the IL too.
and then lose to some guy throwing 88 miles an hour. From
Lose
Japan.
to you mean lose to Jack Kowanowitz, or however you say it.
I don't. Yeah, somebody.
Anyways, that was a little fun exercise that we wanted to do, is go over and try and think of our Dream Team USA lineup. Obviously, we'll react to people as they get confirmation onto it. Like we figure out if Mike Trout's going to do it, like because if Mike Trout's doing it, like of course he's going to be on the team. Like he makes that call, not anyone else really. Like if he wants to be on it, he's going to be on it. But we'll talk about that as it happens. But as always, we wrap up the shows. We look towards Player of the Day / Player of the Week votes. As David mentioned on our Twitter this earlier today, the weekends are a little hard for us to usually get to. So sorry if we missed those days, but we try to wrap it up in general. So David, what are we looking at for this week?
Player of the Day from week May 12th through May 18th. I've got Corbin Carroll winning May 12th with 2 home runs. I've got Javi Baez winning May 13th with a 2 home run game, including a walk-off 3-run home run. And he's been playing so good in center field, man. That's super awesome that we got him a Player of the Day win. I got Kyle Stowers for May 14th. I have Shohei Ohtani for May 15th. That was the first of our days that we kind of bunched together today. Shorter vote, but he had 2 homers, 6 RBIs on last Thursday. Wilmer Flores went 3 homers, 8 RBIs on Friday of last week. I didn't even put a poll up for that one. He was just he won it fair and square there. Jordan Beck won the most votes on May 17th with 2 homers, 3 RBIs, and a walk and 4 runs scored for the Rockies. Cody Bellinger with the grand slam yesterday picks up the Player of the Day for May 18th. So I'm nominating Javi Baez for Player of the Week. He's been absolutely awesome for the Tigers this season. I'm so happy that he's had a renaissance playing center field of all things. It's working really well. He's making better swing decisions. He's hitting home runs. It's vintage Javi, man. I'm thrilled that we talked about that contract as an albatross. It's hampering the Tigers, and here he is playing like a really good baseball player. I'm super excited for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that with Javi Baez. That game, he single-handedly won the Tigers a game the other day, and I think that's important. He's had a good week in general too. I think he had a couple more home runs this week, so he's been very good. I don't know that I trust that he's going to continue to be this good still, but I mean, if he's around a league average hitter, playing great defense and base running and doing all the things that has always made Javi Baez special and fun to watch, I mean, like last year he had a 43 WRC plus. You just can't do that. I mean, if you have a 95 WRC plus, then you're Javi Baez. That's acceptable. I mean, that's a 2 to 3 win player. So good for Javi Baez on having a good year so far, and that was an incredible game he had the other night. So definitely going to have to go with him.
Javi Baez is right now a Bakersfield Blaze legend in our fantasy league. He's been incredible there. But I am going to abstain from voting here because you guys cannot make me do a vote where there's Shohei Ohtani and Cody Bellinger and make me pick someone else other than those two.
Yeah, well,
so I am abstaining from voting, but at that point it's still 2 to 1 on Javi Baez, so he can win the.
Yeah, well, Shohei doesn't play the field, and Cody hit a wall scraping home run that.
Shohei doesn't play the field, and yet he's still near the top of the leaderboards in WAR. All right, and he gets discredited so much for it. So you can deal with it. All right, and you will not make me hate my Cody Bellinger.
Yeah,
no, I'll never hate him either. That's why he won Player of the Day. That's good for him. I'm happy for Cody.
Yeah, congrats to Cody Bellinger winning Player of the Day.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So there it is for this week. Javi Baez for May 12th to May 18th will be our Player of the Day. Week, whatever.
That's
so. As far as before we wrap up, we want to announce that next week obviously is Memorial Day, so there will not be a live show next Monday. We will have a episode of some sort up, if it's a shortened podcast version that we record or an episode for just general baseball. But so we hope everyone has a safe Memorial Day weekend. Hope that you enjoy the Indy 500 and Coke 600 double, which is always fun. You have to watch those 2 races on that day. But
ones watch Monaco too. Make it a triple.
There is Monaco. Yeah. So you can, if you want to watch the triple header, you can do that.
Yeah. I don't know that Monaco, I mean, it's early in the morning. I just fall back asleep. So
it's super boring, but it's beautiful to watch.
I mean, considering there wasn't like a green flag pass last year or something like
bad.
I don't know. It was a pass for lead or something like just.
Yeah. I don't think they had a green flag pass, or they just had like 2 or 3 in the whole race.
Pass.
Yeah.
Maybe it rains. That's what you hope for. You hope for rain, and you just watch the boats, and it's a nice time in the morning with your drink in the morning. Beautiful.
Right. So again, we hope everyone has a safe Memorial Day weekend. And thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you guys back here live in 2 weeks.